Hey guys, so happy you could join me today. Another day of kind of telling you what's been going on the last couple of weeks. So, on the one hand, I am kind of trying to commit to putting a video out on my days off, and on the other hand, I'm trying to be honest and talk about what I have going on in my head here. And I don't know, the last couple of weeks dealing with some of this stuff, I like starting to feel a little bitchy about it. I'm like tired of rehashing through all this stuff that I've kind of pushed aside for a long time. And I watched some videos on YouTube the last couple of days, and they were really helpful to me. Just with people sharing their stories and, being honest about what happened to them. And, I honestly hope that this can be that for someone, but right now I don't really have any answers for anyone. I'm trying to figure out stuff for myself. So I'm just, letting you know kind of what I've been what I've been working on lately, and what I've kind of been thinking about, and kind of where I'm trying to move here, with trying to find healing and wholeness and really acceptance of myself and the parts of myself that I've tried to push down and squash. So, again, welcome back. I'm glad you made it. And let's get started. So, as usual, I made some notes and bullet points, that I could kind of work through so that I can stay on track. And so firstly, covering the last couple of weeks, well, specifically this days off, not unusual. I've been kind of slacking on this days off and feel pretty useless, but I've been just kind of trying to process. Again, I've got, as I told you before, I got involved with the mensgroup.com, and so I spent a lot of time on my first 4 days off really. I responded to a couple posts on there, because it's kind of like a social media, so they'll post stuff and then you can respond to that. And so I responded to several of the posts on there, and then one of the members started interacting with me on what I'm going through. And so it's really awesome. But on the other hand, I'm like starting to feel like I'm needy and I'm oversharing, and I'm trying to figure stuff out. And I sure do appreciate the acceptance, and I worry about again being bitchy and oversharing. But what's the point in utilizing that tool if I'm not trying to work through some of my stuff here? I don't know. So this men's group, mensgroup.com, it's for men in general. And so you have straight men and you have gay men. And so one of the groups that I gravitated towards, like immediately when I started pushing into and learning about the site, was the gay LGBTQ forum on there. And as I've kind of allowed myself to become vulnerable on there, I worry about what the other guys are thinking and saying and all of that. Nowhere on there have I seen any shaming or putting down. It's a really accepting culture there, and I sure do appreciate it. But it's been a struggle for me to open up, and I'm so used to being closed down and shut off and not sharing how I feel and not sharing what's going on in my head, that, I start feeling exposed, naked, kind of out of control. And it's a kind of a scary feeling. And I start feeling a lot of guilt and shame over it. I feel, again, like I'm being too needy, and I don't know what to do about that, but I'm trying to improve myself and become a better person, and you don't do that by holding stuff in. And that's one of my big problems, is I've held stuff in for so long that, maybe it's not big, but it's become huge because I haven't talked about it. I haven't figured out how to work through it. So, now it's kind of feeling a little crisis-y, and, as I've started exploring some of my emotions the last couple of days, I've noticed that some emotions that I dealt with previously are starting to resurface, and I don't know if, it's stuff that I just, shoved down and pushed down so well that I didn't experience it for a while, but I'm starting to experience it again. And like, especially today, just I think the loneliness, and like there's kind of a depression, and kind of I don't know if grief is the right word, but it kind of fits with how I'm feeling. And so this morning I gotta go to town and do my errands, wash laundry, all of that stuff. And so I showered and got ready and did my hair, even though it's a little, I don't know, it's not that great, but I did it. I got it done. So, I kind of had to push through doing that, and then just because of, I'm just, I don't know, I'm just feeling a lot of stuff. And so moving forward, one of the things, so the big thing about this men's group is the Zoom meetings, and it's a meeting of, I think there were 14 or 15 guys in my group, and it's my group, it's a private group, so unless someone new arrives, there's not really anyone new that comes on the scene as far as your group goes. And I just, like, again, there's a lot of straight guys, and then there's me, a gay guy. And you worry about, well, for me, I worry about getting on a topic and, again, being too demanding, or being too open, or saying something that causes people to be like, fuck you, we don't want you to be a part of this group, rejection there. And so I know, so that was on Friday, and before I went back to work last Wednesday, I went to a group, and I shared about, why I kind of got involved with this was because I had read the book No More Mr. Nice Guy. And, I started feeling like, well, I got to do something. I got to start taking action for myself. And part of it is, I know if I don't start to get help, then I'm going to put myself in a bad situation financially, because I'm going to get desperate, and then I'm going to maybe just, move or leave it all behind. And then, I suck at getting a job because I have zero self-confidence in the interview process, and I shut down. Honestly, I shut down in interviews and stuff. So I'm just like, and that's one of the reasons that I've stayed at this job for so long, is because trying to find different employment requires that whole application process, and being a little cocky and all of that. and I'm not that. I don't know how to be that, you know. So yeah, that's a rabbit trail, but you know, that's kind of what I have going on here. Let's see. So in one of the comments, guy that's been kind of coaching me, I guess you could say, on there has he mentioned putting putting your shadow in front of you. So essentially what it is identifying a wounding as a child and seeing how that wounding caused you to act and react to situations in your life, you know, whether it be, you know, if you become super critical, or in my case, I've become super passive. Like, that is my biggest flaw, is just being too passive and closing down when something happens that is difficult for me. And so, of course, that's something that I think I have gotten better at, especially at my job, but I think I have a lot of improvement to do there. And, you know, so keeping your shadow in front of you is just knowing how you act and react and how you treat people, being aware of it and mitigating that, you know. So, you know, we'll see. So as I mean, each of my comments in response to the questions he asked was like, I really, you know, took the time to think about my answers. I took the time to consider what he was asking me, because again, how am I going to get anything out of this if I don't participate, you know? And so I each time I answered one of his questions, like, would be like a 2-page answer, and I'd spend like 3 or 4 hours like really looking into myself and thinking about the questions that he was asking me, you know. And so I mean, it's been really good, but again, I've started feeling really needy and just needy and oversharey, you know. I think everyone knows that person who shares too much or gets too needy, and they're like, wow, this guy's way more than we can handle, you know. And I have always tried to not be that guy. I learned because when I was in high school, I experienced a lot of just depression and grief, you know. Just again, I don't know if grief is the right word, but it was just so heavy, you know. And whenever I opened up to people that were what I considered close to me, it was too much, you know. It was too much for them to handle. And so I kind of find myself in the same place, except, you know, I haven't been shut down or anything, but I'm like, well, you know, let's think about this, and let's not get into a place where, you know, we push people away because we're so desperate, you know. I don't want that to happen. So yeah, that's been what I've been working through. And that, skip a couple of my little points in here, that kind of brings me into my next point, is that the last, I don't know, I've been between this men's group and everything, you know. I was hoping that men's group would be a place where I could start to heal some of this stuff, which I think it's a great tool to find accountability. And again, that's a touchy subject for me, because whenever I start seeing that people have expectations for me, I just kind of like, fuck you, I don't want any part of it, and I kind of just shut down, you know, and do my own thing, which is very unhealthy also. So where is I going with that? So yeah, after after those several of days of, really digging into stuff, I've kind of come to the realization that I do need a therapist, probably. And, for a lot of my life, I guess I kind of had a stigma towards it. Why would I, if I get a therapist, it shows that I'm crazy and I need help. And, well, I need help. So, it's, you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be able to push yourself to do the things that you got to do to get well. And so I haven't reached out to anyone yet, but on my next days off, I plan on doing that, or maybe later today. We'll see. It's, I don't know, it's a really new thing for me, and it's kind of scary for me, one of the big things that I've been struggling with the last, this days off really is accepting who I am as a gay man, and that's kind of scary to me, considering that, well, I was raised in, like, when I was a child, we went to Catholic church, and then after we were done there, we would go kitty corner to the Pentecostal church, because my dad was Catholic and my mom was Pentecostal. And then in 7th grade, I went into a private school, which was non-denominational, but it was really Baptist school. I mean, that's what they pushed, was the Baptist teachings, really. I mean, evangelical is evangelical. The big difference is the healing and speaking in tongues, and for the Pentecostal, and then for the Baptist, it's more about the theology, which, I mean, in both, it's important, but the Baptists tend to hold up the theology more than anything and really cherish that. That's a different topic for a different day, but yeah, that is the childhood I came up out of. And so I think for myself, I experienced some sense of homophobia. Even though I'm gay, I still have aspects of myself that I guess I dislike very much. And I always wanted a wife and kids, and the house with the white picket fence, and I've come to kind of accept that that's just not in my cards, and it's disappointing for me, but that's kind of where I am. So I need to learn to accept it and live with it. So beyond that, I'm just going to read through these points again, because I'm almost at 20 minutes here, so wow. So realizing that maybe I need to get a therapist. 1, trying to be accepting of my own gayness. 2, I've really shut down in aspect to friendships and relationships outside of work. I like being home. I like I like hiding away. I like my own space. It's the safest place for me to be. And I don't have to worry about disappointing friends or being frustrated with someone and ghosting them. That's something that I'm really awful at. I've ghosted a lot of people just because something's not right, and I'm just like, what, we're not gonna work for all of our best interest. I think it's best that I leave the situation. And I think part of that situation is kind of I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought there. yeah, anyway, well, that thought's gone, so maybe I'll pick it up later. Um, anyways, so again, having become very antisocial on my days off, uh, I realized one of the YouTubers that I was watching, Crappy Childhood Fairy, I got some really good insight on uh, some of the stuff that I do, and the more that I look at a lot of this stuff, the more that I see that I'm kind of fucked up in the head, and even with the mensgroup.com, I realized that a lot of my emotional belief structures are counterintuitive. Like, they don't make any sense, but I still cling to them and I still hang to them, for like their sweet oxygen, so stuff that I need to work on, again, with learning to be accepting of my own gayness, is the needing to learn to love myself, and that is something that I'm going to have to walk through. As I said, having a difficult time with religion and being gay, scared, and I don't know how to be vulnerable, scared of opening up, scared of trying, what is that going to entail? Am I going to unravel? I mean, a lot of times I think healing can come with unraveling a little bit, and kind of scared of that. So one thing that I deal with is I enjoy porn from, well, once, twice, maybe 3 times a day. And I don't feel like it's an addiction, but at the same time, it's something that I utilize frequently. I get tired and I'm like, oh, whatever, I will indulge. And then, so 7th is, I don't feel like porn is an addiction, but I do utilize it more than once a day on my days off. On my days on, I get home and I just want to wind down and go to bed, and that takes too much time. And then 8, total apathy to do anything. I just, like, besides taking care of myself, I just shut down. I don't want to do anything. I don't have energy to do anything. That's it. Okay, so again, moving on. Okay, that isn't a touch screen. I got a new screen for my computer, a separate screen, so I have 2 screens now, which is kind of nice. Anyway, so several YouTube channels that have been impacting me in the last couple of days here is Steps of Two Foreigners, Cunard, Crappy Childhood Fairy, and then searches as far as gay coming out stories and conversion therapy and all of that stuff. So Steps of Two Foreigners was really, I like that one because it kind of gives me hope that, maybe one day I can actually have a relationship longer than 3 months with another guy. I've given up on trying to date and stuff because I just have so many, I didn't find it enjoyable per se my first couple of times, and it was so emotionally exhausting. And one of my faults is that whenever I get in a relationship, and even anywhere in my personal life I get into a relationship and I start trying to adjust myself to be what the other person wants or needs, and in the end I end up shutting down and I guess essentially end it because I'm like, I can't change myself to be what this person wants or needs me to be. Cunard, I don't know, I just appreciate his viewpoint, and I relate with kind of stuff he's said in the past videos, and I don't know, I appreciate what he has to say there. And then the Crappy Childhood Fairy, I watched a few of her videos and I was like, oh, yep, I deal with that. I deal with that too. Maybe not so much that. Oh, yep, I deal with that too. So that was insightful. And then gay coming out stories was really, I guess I'm trying to figure out how, to change my attitude towards myself and being homosexual, and so that kind of plays into what I was searching for there. Yeah. So, and then the conversion therapy, I've never been through it, but like an actual structured thing, but I see in my own life how I've restricted myself and tried to hide myself with the fear of looking like I'm a gay man, and so just the guys that I watched talking about that impacted me because, I kind of started to see how I treated myself poorly and trying to hide myself as a gay man, from society. And I know I've said it, I don't know if I've said it on here before because I haven't really talked about being gay on here before. But, again, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, at work, people might suspect that I'm gay, and some people do know, but for the most part, I don't, it's a topic that is off limits for me to discuss at work. I don't want to come across as the gay guy, and one of the things that I kind of worry about as being a supervisor is all my employees are straight men, and so, what if I was to embrace that aspect of myself and, either A, I'm rejected, or B, they feel like they don't need to listen to me because maybe they would feel like I'm lesser of a person for being gay, I don't know, that's something that rules my thoughts. Anyway, those have been really helpful, and I've actually been able to kind of, well, especially with like the steps of two foreigners, and mainly that one, just seeing how they work through their problems and express their love towards each other. I'm going to be honest, I cried a couple of times because it was, really impactful to me, their compassion towards each other, and their understanding that, they're both human beings. And I mean, I guess that's what a relationship is, but I guess I've always had a skewed outlook on relationships and stuff, so it's hard for me to know how to navigate that properly, So I kind of address those. Well, one aspect of, like, I try to hide my, like, when I go out in public, I used to have a lot of shame for being gay, and I always, worried about how people were looking at me, because I've heard, not towards myself, but I've heard very critical comments that made me afraid to, just express myself. And I think I'm a lot more confident now and not as fearful of what people think. In general, I'm able to go out in public and, feel okay, but I still have those worries, and I've done stuff that I'm embarrassed about, and Elko's a small community, so, people are like, well, that guy did this and that, what a dumbass, so I kind of deal with that. So I'm gonna switch topics a little bit. So I know I mentioned my friends before. They were really my closest friends that I had. And, they were the most understanding of where I was at as far as my sexuality goes. But towards the last year, maybe two, well, I'm going to read this and then I can expand on it. So my friends believed that I was moving towards heterosexuality. These were my closest and most understanding friends for a long time. They didn't really criticize me for being gay, and I never really felt like they were being unkind about their desire to see me move towards heterosexuality. They always told me that they really didn't care about my sexual orientation and that all that mattered was my relationship with Yahweh or God or Jesus, I really do believe that there can be healing for these desires or for this area of my life, but at this point, holding hope that I can move towards that kind of healing, I'm finding that it's more damaging to me more than it's helping me, See, as I open myself up to mental health topics and even gay mental health, I realize that that doesn't happen a lot where, guys are able to transition from being homosexual to heterosexual. That's just, for the most part, unkind to yourself. Again, as I mentioned before, I hate expectations and I started feeling that they had these expectations and I felt like I couldn't live up to them. I started being worried that I was going to disappoint my friends because I still had very strong homosexual desires all the time. And I told them more than once, I was like, hey, I still deal with this. And I mean, they listened, but at the same time, it almost felt like, I don't know. It just, they were the one people that I could lean on in this area. And it was just like, I know they were trying to be helpful, but at the same time, it kind of felt like I was being pressured. So moving on, different topic. So yesterday and maybe the day before, I started kind of journaling to myself, talking to myself and trying to, be more understanding of these places in myself that I've neglected or shut down and start a healing process for these areas in myself that I've been unkind to, So moving on, one of the lies that I tell myself is that I'm happily single. The steps of two foreigners kind of gives me hope that perhaps that I can have a working relationship. Yeah, and like I said, I'm constantly telling people I'm happily single here, mostly because relationships are exhausting. I mean, they're a lot of work for everyone. I'm not discounting that, but again, for me, it's like, why try? I'm either going to leave them or they're going to leave me. End of story. So just hole up and you do you, boo-boo, But I think that's one thing that I was trying to think of earlier is arguments and not being afraid to say what you think, even though, it might offend or hurt the other person. I try to be really careful when I'm talking to someone, and if I know someone has a trigger or that it offends them or worries them or what have you, then I just try to forego the topic and move on, but things don't get solved that way, and that is a big fault of myself, is not being able to be honest with people of, you know, how I'm feeling. And, you know, that's that's a form of my own disrespect for myself, is not giving my own emotions gravity, you know, not respecting my own emotions. And so that's something that I got to work on. And again, I think that's why I really need to get therapy, is because, like, even this last week, like, in the mensgroup.com, I'd mentioned something, and then I'd feel a flood of guilt and shame and fear and all of that stuff, and then I would doubt, you know, what I said. And a lot of times when I'm being open, honest, and vulnerable, I doubt. I'm like, am I seeking attention, or am I legitimately trying to work through something? You know, am I just, you know, trying to make people sorry for me, or am I, you know, actually trying to build a bridge to my own inner healing, you know, if that makes any sense. So that is something I hope to work on moving forward. So the one that I just read, one of the lies that I tell myself is that I'm happily single. Steps of Two Foreigner kind of gives me the hope that perhaps I can have a working relationship. And then the next point, one thing that I've really been struggling with since I know how my family believes, is having a relationship with my family and being gay. I love my family, but I've distanced myself so far from them because I'm gay. I'm not going to address that one right now. And then the last point, I've shut down creatively because I'm afraid that me being artistic proves to the world that I'm gay, you know, or how gay I am. So anyway, again, I feel like I'm bitching, but at the same time, I know a couple of the videos that I watched the last couple of days really positively impacted me, and, you know, I hope that I can do the same. And that's kind of the point of this channel, is to be vulnerable and honest and be able to, you know, share what's going on with me. This is kind of an outlet for me, because I keep myself so shut down from people that I work with and just everyone in general. So I'm like, well, this is something that I gotta do. And I feel like as I share and all of that, hopefully I can grow, and hopefully I can start feeling more at peace about some of these things that really distress me, you know. And I don't know. Anyway, thanks again so much for joining me, and I will catch you next time in 2 weeks. Adios.